Welcome to the 8th of 8 and final videos from the Roman Army 2021 UofW lecture on appearance, identity, etc. I just want to finish off by just highlighting a couple of ways that we can see individuals within the Roman military. So I'll get rid of my face. Okay, fade out Waitley. Individuals in the army. Okay, so they did have an individual identity that can be marked in lots of ways. Officially, for instance, there are a lot of official things that tracked them. We know that their names were recorded on rosters of military units, so you could see the list of all the soldiers within a particular unit. We have a couple of these, mostly from Dura Europus. We have some related things, but they deal more with numbers of soldiers rather than names. We know that sometimes they might be identified within the official records to some degree by their appearance. There's some hints that that was kept track of as well. As I said, when discussing the recruitment and enlistment process, there might be some sort of dog tag, the signaculum, which is in another lecture, and the possibility of tattoos, hinting at what you see in the movie Gladiator. They had a legal status as well, so they had a legal identity, which is maybe less to do with individuals and more to do with them, the larger context of Roman life. So they had all sorts of rights, like being able to make wills, certain kinds of property rights, what they could own, buy, sell, etc. They also had access to different courts from civilians, so there was military courts too, which is maybe less about some of the individual things. They were definitely, in many ways, removed from the rest of society. This is something that we're going to come back to in a later session. Okay, now one good place to see the individuality of soldiers in action, more or less, is at Bu Njem in North Africa. A range of evidence associated with this site. This is the poems I had you read for this week, and we know we have found lots of things. So we know a bit about the genius, the locality. It looks like genius, but the Latin genius, sort of a spirit associated with the place and connected with the military presence. We know about a shrine to the unit standards. There were shrines to the standards. Again, these are like the totems or whatever, the flags of individual regiments and subunits. And over the shrines where people could worship things, they're also connected again with finances in the military. We know that if you see the soldiers as individuals within the military and comparing them with the people who live outside of the base, we know that there seems to have been a distinction between the deities who were found and worshipped within the base than those found outside, which probably points towards slightly differences between the people, which then hints at a few more aspects of these individuals. So they maybe worship the standards, had their own particular genius that they perform rituals for. They had other deities they were familiar with. Names can sometimes hint at some of this. So it seems possibly that if someone, and some of this is hard to say and there's some speculation and so on, but people have used names to try to say more about the identity and background of Romans, not just soldiers but other people too. Sometimes you can look at a name and say, oh, this name is more representative of a particular place or region and even a particular time. Okay, like the name Aurelius and Polion. Aurelius marked possibly of the expansion of citizenship, and this could be an indication of that, but harder to say. Sometimes so-called non-Roman names that we might better associate with people living, in a province or region like North Africa, and that would provide soldiers for local units and have names that are more representative of the locality. Sometimes the soldiers serving in the military inside the camp, we might think, are actually from the surrounding area, but they seem to have adopted in part or maybe a whole Roman name. So you can see another aspect of their individual character. And because although, again, I talked a little bit about the appearance and looked at sculpture and a bit of physical evidence. And, you look at the playable ones I was using in my models. The images often of, being more or less the same, okay? But there is scope for some individual nuance in terms of the appearance. And I noted this, the shield from Dura Europus, okay? And if you look at each individual province, you're probably going to see slight variations. And also even in terms of the background, which I've already hinted at. So some of the individuals in the basin around Bu Njem, in the 1st, 2nd century CE, reflect the range of backgrounds, larger identities of the people who live there, people of Punic backgrounds, think Carthage, etc., Libyan, more beyond the Carthaginian sphere, and then Roman, of course, as well. And then, of course, some individuals like to express their other tastes, interests beyond the military. We don't often see this. You might see baths and other forms of entertainment associated with bases and found in bases, but specific personal outlays of individuality, like poetry, which is maybe a little less common. So we have at Bu Njem these poems written by some soldiers, okay, who are maybe see themselves in, we don't know obviously, but see themselves to some degree as not just soldiers, but artists to some degree too. So, here is one of them. I'll just read out for you in translation from 202-203 CE. I have much sought what to hand down to memory while acting in command of all the soldiers in this camp, what vows shared by all and on behalf of the safe return of the army to discharge among earlier and future vows. While seeking in my mind for worthy names of deities, I at last discovered the name and power of a never-failing goddess, whom to consecrate everlastingly with vows in this place. And so for as long as there are worshippers of health here, insofar as I could, I have sanctified her name, and I have given to all the genuine waters of health amid such great fiery temperatures, in the midst of those unending standings of the south wind that stirs up the burning flames of the sun, so that they might soothe their bodies by bathing in tranquility. So you feel the great gratitude for what I have done, that the spirit of your seething soul is being revived. Do not be slow to speak genuine praise with your voice of one who wanted you to be healthy for your own good, but to testify even for the sake of health. So it's an interesting poem. A lot of it seems to be paying particular attention to this sort of deity associated with health. It's a she, so you get hints at this soldiers, this officers' individuality. This is an individual, okay? He is in command of the soldiers, but he gets time to turn towards poetry, which was written down on pieces of, I believe, ostraca, which are in turn pieces of pottery. It also, in this particular case, kind of reflects the warm temperatures that you'd find in this locale. So lots of hints at this individual. And this is just one case and one example where we have means of picking out the individual traits and characteristics. So this guy identifies as a commander. He identifies with this goddess health. He, is concerned about the soldiers under his command, but also personally is aware of the warm temperatures and so on in the vicinity. So anyway, so that ends this lecture and video on looking for individuals in the military. That's it for now. Bye.